Okay, welcome to the Barons live tennis commentary live stream of tennis predictions. We've got playing Krejcikova against Ostapenko. Ostapenko up a break, 3-1 serving at 15 all. The pre-match prediction. Can't get the sound on this. No, I can't get the sound on this live stream. I can't use Channel 9 live stream because I get blocked through using Facebook, so I'm having to use this free site. And it's not freezing again, is it? No. So you can see Krejcikova has a 79.5% chance of winning the match. To win straight sets, 50 points from the outset, 50.2%, to win 3 sets, 29.3%, and for Ostapenko, 8.5% to win in straight sets, 12% to win in 3 sets. And of course that all sums to 1 because you're exhausting all the different combinations of winning in 2 or 3 sets. To win a set, 70.8%. So on... and it's frozen. It's just not reliable, these free sites. Ostapenko up 4-1. You can see that Ostapenko up 4-1 in the current match. She has Krejcikova's dropped now to 59.7% chance, but to win the set, because Ostapenko's up a break, she's got a 77% chance to win the match. From the outset, Krejcikova had a 59.2% chance winning a point on serve, and Ostapenko had a 53%. They're constant probabilities throughout the match. I don't use an updating formula, which you should be using, because it's a bit problematic to be updating with the actual points won on serve while you're updating the scoreboard at the same time. The whole thing can be automated. Something I should talk about is tournament predictions. I had a supervisor during my PhD who wrote some code to calculate tournament predictions, and they're actually exact based on the pre-match predictions. And you can actually calculate the chance of a particular player reaching a particular round, and also the chance that player A meets player B. So that might be interesting. I put a proposal through as a potential honours. If someone wants to contact me, go to my website, strategicgames.com.au, and that's a potential honours project for someone. I'm looking to set up on tournament predictions. That would actually add some input into the live stream. Yeah, it looks like the live stream it seems to be copying the actual tennis, because it's only got 3-1 on the live stream, but she's actually up 4-1, Ostapenko. So I'm going to remove the custom frame rate. I've removed the tennis live stream, but you can just download the Channel 9 website, and you can have that playing at the same time while you're following my predictions. The other thing is, it might be on. It's probably televised. It's on Rod Laver Arena. They've got 2 channels, at least in Australia. They've got 2 channels, Gem and Channel 9, streaming the live matches. So it's Ostapenko up 4-2 on serve, 15-all. You can see at 4-2, Ostapenko serving 15-all. Krejcikova has a 62.6% chance of winning the match. Yeah, it's a bit problematic. I don't know how I'm going to get around that. I may have to pay for the rights to use the live stream during my predictions, because the predictions actually work quite well. It's just and you can see how it's I can't live stream. You can see how the chances of Krejcikova winning the straight sets has dropped to 21.2%, winning 3 sets, which is the most likely, 41.3%, and for Ostapenko 20.4%, winning in straight sets, and 17% winning in 3 sets. There's a 1.6% chance that the match will go for more than 2 hours. I'm assuming 8 seconds to play a point. Krejcikova from 4-2, 15-lap Krejcikova tiebreak game is actually 17.5% chance of reaching a tiebreak game. So you can do the probabilities of actually reaching different score lines. You can also do the probability of winning. So to win six games to 2, Ostapenko has a 15.9% chance. There's a 30.4% chance that she'll win 6 games to 3. So it exhausts all different sort of combinations of points in games, games in sets in match, and it uses the Markov chain model. So there's a constant probability of a player winning on serve, which equates to a game, which equates to a set, which then equates to a match of different hierarchies. I should talk about my PhD thesis was in tennis statistics, but I have an application to warfare. And in fact, the hierarchical structure in tennis of points, games, sets and match was applied to hierarchical structure warfare, where you've got skirmishes, battles, campaigns, war. So you can lose a campaign, but yet still win the war. The same in tennis, you can lose a point or a game, but still win the match. So it's actually there's a sort of an analog there, and that's what we had an mass industry study group on this actual problem, which formed part of my PhD on when to expend additional energy in a tennis match, which directly applies to warfare. Of course, I'm not a big fan of warfare itself, but it gave me that PhD structure of a new piece of research. The interesting thing in tennis is actually calculating the points in a match through the different hierarchies. I was calculating the higher moments of standard deviation, skewness, and kurtosis. We're all sort of familiar with standard deviation, which is the variation about the mean, and then of course you get the skewness and kurtosis. The normal distribution is symmetric, so it has a skewness of 0 and excess kurtosis of 0, whereas here I've got the number of games played in a set has a mean of 10.21, so expect 10.2 games to be played in the set. Standard deviation of 1.76, but it has a skewness of 2.15 and an excess kurtosis of negative 1.25. So it goes into that detail. When you're calculating points in a match, which I'll bring up now, here we've got the number of points remaining in the match. It's got a mean of 128, standard deviation 37.21, and it's got a skewness of 0.22 and excess kurtosis of negative 0.56. Now, to calculate the distribution, you could run a simulation. You can't calculate exactly, but you can approximate using a normal power approximation, which is actually just a formula which uses the mean, standard deviation, skewness, kurtosis directly on calculating that in that actual formula. And that's how we get the distribution. And I can see that playing more than 200 points, there's an actual 3.1% chance. Playing more than 150 points, 28.9. Playing more than 100 points, 76.2. So that's how you can actually calculate the distribution. Got a bit of background noise from I'm actually at the cafe here at Macquarie University, and they're doing a bit of maintenance on the sweeping the paths, and they use these machines to sweep up the leaves and that sort of thing. Why it's a bit noisy in the background. But the difficulty is calculating the number of points remaining in the match, calculating the standard deviation, skewness and kurtosis. Now that wasn't part of my PhD, that was work I did beyond my PhD, which was actually in a book which I wrote with my colleague, the Mathematics of Tennis, and that's available on my website, strategicgames.com.au, and you can calculate these higher moments of skewness and excess kurtosis. The normal distribution has a kurtosis of 3, but an excess kurtosis of 0. You can subtract 3. That's why we tend to use excess kurtosis, and the normal power approximation uses excess kurtosis rather than kurtosis itself. And it's calculating these higher moments. It all uses backward recursion, but you've got to differentiate between which player has actually won the set or lost the set, and you exhaust all the different combinations in doing so. Again, it wasn't part of my PhD, it was a book we wrote on mathematics of tennis, and the PhD and the book, The Mathematics of Tennis, is available on my website, strategicgames.com.au. Getting back to the match, Ostapenko just won the first set, 6-2. That's 6-2. Now Krejcikova's only got a 50.2, so it's almost 50-50 now after Ostapenko taking the first set. And playing more than 200 points has dropped to 0.1% chance. Playing more than 150 points, 13.1%. We can look at the time duration on that. Time duration of more than 2 hours, 4.4%. Playing more than 1.5 hours, 34.3%. And you can see that Krejcikova has a 70.8% chance of winning the set, even though it's almost 50-50 and winning the match. And Ostapenko has a 53% chance of winning, 57.5% chance of winning a game on serve. Okay, Ostapenko just won that game, 1-love in the second set. Now Ostapenko has a 56.2% chance of winning the match after taking the first game. And you can see that Krejcikova has a 71.9% chance of winning the game on serve. From the outset of the game. Winning the set, she's got a 61.8% chance. So the whole thing is dynamic. It updates on a point-by-point basis. Again, you can automate all of this using live point-by-point data, which is actually available through on-court software or oncourt.info. Provides you with that point-by-point data to do that. And you can have a flow chart of the match unfolding on a point-by-point or game-by-game basis of how the predictions are changing each game. You can map that out as a flow chart. We call this a looking glass. When I was working for InfoPlum, sports multimedia company, they had what was called a looking glass, and they had it updating on a game-by-game basis the match predictions. And I want to thank, again, InfoPlum for that opportunity for working for them for a couple of years. I didn't have this calculator. This calculator was built over 11 years, stemming from the book which I wrote on the mathematics of tennis. So all the formulas to calculate this calculator is documented in the book, The Mathematics of Tennis. And I'm looking to present this work at the upcoming Mass Sport conference in July, which coincides with Wimbledon. I'm hoping to actually stream this live during Wimbledon at the actual conference itself, subject to budget constraints and that sort of thing. But I'm going to be presenting this information and looking at scoring systems, comparing this to the no-ad game, to the 50-40 game where the serve wins 3 points, receiver only has to win. The serve wins a standard 4 points, receiver only has to win 3 points. Is the 50-40 game. Had a colleague who did a lot of work on the 50-40 game, and we've written a joint paper which I'm looking to present. It's an advantage to Krejcikova in the current game. You can see with the advantage to Krejcikova in the current game, she's got an 86.9% chance of winning the game, but you can see the number of points played, and you've got that tail on the different juices, so you could either play 8 points, 10 points, 12 points, 14, 16, 18 and so on. I'm assuming they're one juice. So you can put in a different number of juices. I've got a maximum up to 6.5 of points played. So you can play 12 points. Of course, when it goes beyond that, you could program that to have beyond playing 12 points in the current game, but I've only got up to 12 points on this current calculator. And Krejcikova takes the game, and Ostapenko leads 2-1 in the current match. So 2-1 to Ostapenko. Ostapenko has a 58.2% chance of winning the match. And you can see that the most likely outcome is for Krejcikova to win 2-1, a 41.8% chance of winning the match. Krejcikova has a 59% chance of winning the set. And to win in straight sets for Ostapenko, 41% chance, winning in 3 sets, 17.2. So Krejcikova can't win in straight sets because she's already lost the first set. That's why it says 0.0%. That's really 0%. She can't win at all in straight sets. Yeah, it would be nice to have tournament predictions. And again, if you go to my website, strategicgames.com.au, we could actually have tournament predictions running. Medvedev, who won last night against Kyrgios, I had Medvedev at 99.1%. So to Kyrgios to actually get a set was quite out of the ordinary. But it was heavily stacked in favour of Medvedev. Again, don't use that for betting. This is purely for multimedia. For betting, it might only pay, say, $1, so you'd have to wager $1 to win 1 cent. That's what happens with these favourites, and of course they could get injured and that sort of thing, be unpredictable, and that's why you could be wagering a lot of money on you thinking it's a sure bet, when in fact you're going to lose a lot of money because they become injured. So that's why it shouldn't be used for betting. Although people do profit out of betting in sports betting, this model is doesn't update based on current form, doesn't have a Bayesian updating rule. There is one implemented on the calculator which you can download, but it doesn't take into account head-to-head record, because Kyrgios actually led Medvedev to love. Didn't take that count into information. The model takes into account all the matches played, and it looks at the predicted points won on serve and return of serve to the actual points won on return of serve, and it sort of weights that towards current form, and then matches the one player's serving predictions to the other player's return of serve predictions to get the two parameters, and that's each player winning a point on serve. And for the Krejcikova Ostapenko match, Krejcikova has a 59.2% chance of winning a point on serve, and Ostapenko has a 53% chance of winning a point on serve. So Ostapenko now leads three games to 1. Ostapenko, of course, seeded 26, and Krejcikova seeded 4. So it's looking like a bit of an upset on the cards here. But at 3 games to 1, 15 all. So she's up a break, Ostapenko. And Ostapenko has a 73.7% chance of winning the match. And wins the set. Ostapenko now at 62.8%, being up that break of serve. Reaching tie-break game, 16.3%. We'll have a look at some other matches which are going to be played. Ash Barty takes on You're just sort of frozen. Ash Barty takes on Camilla Georgia. We'll have a look at the pre-match prediction there. Camilla Georgie. Got to get. They don't have the first name on the Australian Open site, so I've got to go to Encore to get the first name. So Ash Barty against Camilla Georgie. Barty at 91.2% chance. I'll just bring it up on the screen. Yeah, 91.2% chance to win straight sets. 66.8% chance for Barty to win straight sets within 3 sets. 24.4% chance for Georgie. Don't know how to pronounce that. For Georgie to win in straight sets, 3.3%, and to win in 3 sets, 5.5% chance. And for the match to go for more than 3 hours, 0.1% chance. To go for more than 2 hours, 25% chance. To go for more than an hour, 94.4% chance. So there's about a 5% chance that it'll finish within an hour if you do the subtraction. Another match of interest is the Nadal match. Kachanov. So Nadal I've got to change the calculator. If you're using this calculator yourself, you've got to change it to 5 under structure, change it to 5-set tie break, gender to male, and then he plays Krejcikova. So match coming up later on tonight after the Ash Barty match is the Korean versus Nadal match. I've got Nadal at 83.5% chance of winning the match. And we've got to win straight sets, Nadal 34.1%, winning 4 sets 30.8%, winning 5 sets 18.6%, and for Kachanov, winning straight sets 2.7%, win 4 sets 5.7%, and winning 5 sets 8% chance. Now what I find is there's actually more 3-set matches played, then using a constant probability, then 5-set matches. That's because of momentum. When players win a set, they got an increased chance to win the next set. That's why, again, it shouldn't be used for betting, because you do get these dependencies. Got a few kids crying in the background there. Yeah, you do get these dependencies. There's also a back to the wall effect, where when the weaker player gets down 2 sets, they have quite a big impact of winning the next 3 sets, known as the back to wall effect. In other words, the weaker player, or the one that's lower ranked, doesn't have the belief that they could actually beat the better player. And that's quite a significant effect, this back to wall effect, I found in some of the research which I've done. So you not only get the back to the wall effect, but you also get the momentum effect when the players get up a set, or they get up 2 sets and they've got an increased chance of winning, or they've just won a set. So you can't build, in a Markov chain model, it assumes independence. So it doesn't take into account if they've just won the previous set. If they've just won the, let me get this right. If they've just won the previous set, they you can't factor that's bringing dependencies. So you can't factor that into the Markov chain model. You can only factor in the fact that they're up. The fact that you only factor in the actual scoreboard sets itself. So yeah, you can't factor dependencies in a Markov chain model. You'd have to run a simulation. Now it looks like the Ostapenko, it's actually back on serve, so Krejcikova now serving. I'll go back to that match now. Yeah, going back to the match, takes quite a bit of Krejcikova against Ostapenko, and the scoreboard is 1 set Ostapenko, 4-3. Krejcikova on serve, and the score line is, it's 4-all now. Time you actually up that spreadsheet, the score actually changes. Ostapenko on serve. So Ostapenko 54.8% chance winning the match. That's a 4-all in the second set. Again, I can't live stream this using the TV coverage because I get blocked because of copyright reasons, which is why you'd have to watch it on TV, or you can download it from the Channel 9 website. It's all available for free, but you can't stream it live through YouTube and so on due to copyright reasons. So that's why I'm just showing the predictions. So winning the set, Krejcikova at 63.9% chance. Reaching a tiebreak game, 28.4% chance. Again, the average percentage of wins on serve for men is about 62% on average, and for women I think it's 57 by memory. Is it 57? I think it's 57. So men are clearly dominant on serve, and that changes depending on the surface. So on grass, that's the most dominant, and then hard court, and then clay. So that's why you see the most breaks to serve on clay, and it's also why the other three Grand Slams, Wimbledon, the US Open, the Australian Open, now play a deciding tie-break set, whereas the French Open play an advantage set. And of course in the Wimbledon they still play first to 12 games and a tie-break game at 12 games all, whereas the Australian Open play a first to 10 tie-break game at 6 games all, whereas the US Open play a first to 7 point tie-break game, which has been traditional. So the Wimbledon and the Australian Open have changed, and that's because of that long match which occurred between Isner and Mahut that went to 70-68 in the deciding fifth set. And if we have a look into that, if you go to type, I've got interactive, and I'm going to change that to it was serving about 83% and about 80% on serve, and this was a 5-set advantage. I'll have to make that 2 sets all, and if you change here, I've made the serving dominance 83%, 80% on serve, and this is at 2 sets all, and you can see that there's a 10.3% chance that they'll reach 68 games all in a deciding advantage set. So that doesn't seem unlikely when you got that higher serving dominance. I've used user-defined predictions. The actual the pre-match predictions were only about 73, I think, and 70% on serve. so they added an extra 10% on serve for each player is the Mahut. So that's how if you go to interactive, you can change the initial serve of each player winning a point on serve. And you can see time remaining in a match. So the fact that when they're with that high serving dominance, even though it ended at 70-68, it could have actually gone even longer than that, which is at such high serving dominance. Krejcikova has just taken the second set, so it's now set all with Ostapenko on serve. So Krejcikova at a set all has a 70.8% chance. This is where the updating formula could be quite useful. And again, I've said not to use it for betting, but well, look, if you were going to place a bet, it should be later in the match, and it should use the updating formula. So you've got to put in how many points they've won on serve and how many they've actually played on serve, and that would provide some level of accuracy. But again, I'd prefer that we just use this for multimedia rather than for betting. I think it's more fun to actually use it for multimedia, because again, a player could get injured and that sort of thing, and it's very difficult and doesn't take into account dependencies, and so yeah, it's just unfortunate that betting's become so dominant these days, and the multimedia is not such the case, except for the company that I was working for, InfoPalm, which were just focused on multimedia. So, and again, winning a set 70.8, because this is the final set, and to reach a tie-break game, the model actually takes into account a first to 7 rather than a first to 10, because when I built this calculator, they didn't have a first to 7. I could modify the calculator, but might change again, and it's too much effort. There's a 12.3% chance that it'll go to a tie-break game. Oops, I haven't uploaded that. Oh, I've got to go save on my Excel spreadsheet. The refresh button doesn't work, which is why I'm going back to my strategic games page. Normally I go back to the live coverage, but it seems to freeze on these free sites. So here we've got 12.3% of reaching a tiebreak game, and you can see the distribution of number of sets played in the match. There's a 70.8% chance of Krejcikova winning, 29.2% chance of Ostapenko. winning the final set. So I hope you've been enjoying this tennis coverage and these Streaming the Barons live predictions. I certainly enjoy tennis. Has always been part of my life from a young age. I was playing tennis. I played at Roseville Park Tennis Club. I was actually club champion in one particular year, so I was a decent club player, but that was about it. I couldn't go into the circuit. I had a very weak backhand, which would get exploited in doubles, which would get exploited in singles, I should say, in doubles, because I was left-handed. I used to play from the left-hand side of the court and just hit forehands all day and serve and volley. So I had a solid serve and volley game, and I had a reasonable forehand, but I couldn't hit backhands, so I hardly had to hit a backhand in doubles. But of course, it'd just get exploited in singles. And then I went on to play for Macquarie University Tennis Club, where we actually won a badge competition. We had a pair which would basically just win their 4 sets each week. We would sort of put together one set, so we'd win 5 out of 8 and win each week, and that's sort of the way it goes. I was one of the weaker teams playing, but that's how things go. And then I played for Hawthorn Tennis Club, and I moved down to Melbourne. I was doing my PhD and playing tennis at the same time. I should say that I've been associated with 6 universities, 6 Australian universities. Did my undergraduate in mathematics at Macquarie University. Then I went to UTS, University of Technology of Sydney, did a graduate diploma in operations research, which is sort of applied mathematics, uses sort of optimization, uses forecasting. That's where you sort of get this exponential smoothing, which I use in my tennis predictions. And then I moved down to Melbourne. I was in Melbourne for 10 years. Moved to Melbourne in 2002, did my PhD until 2000, graduated in 2006. Then I was working for Sportsbet 21. We had a model running where you would actually... I had worked for a number of bookmakers, so I have actually been involved in betting. And I was working for Sportsbet 21, which was a spin-off company under Swinburne sort of IP, and we were setting the odds for Ladbrokes, and you could bet on the outcome of the game, whether the server wins or loses the 15-30 deuce, and or the winner of the game itself. So you'd be betting sort of each game, if you like, on the outcome, and that was very successful. It really did profit. It's just that unfortunately an error came into it. I won't say where that came from, but there was an error in the actual coding that came about down the track, and they lost their license, and I was sort of out of a job. But then I got a job with Centrebet. Due to their IP, I won't say exactly what I was doing, but I was doing the predictions for a whole range of sport: ice hockey, basketball, AFL football, and of course tennis. And then I got an adjunct appointment with then I worked for after Centrebet I worked for InfoPlum, and that's when I was doing a range of again, the prediction modelling and the statistics. And tennis was certainly my highlight. I was quite flamboyant. I used to sort of walk around talking tennis with everyone, and sort of tried to motivate everyone into sport, particularly tennis. And we had again, this is where we had this looking glass and a crystal ball, and it was running on the Yahoo 7 website, and it was very popular during the Australian Open. And I want to thank InfoPlum again for the opportunity to be working with them. In the meantime, I had an adjunct appointment with Swinburne University for a couple of years, wrote quite a large number of papers, and that's when I wrote my book with a colleague, my second supervisor, on the mathematics of tennis, which you'll find on my website, strategicgames.com.au. And then I got an adjunct appointment with Victoria University. They've got the institute. They used to have the Institute for Sport, Exercise Science and Active Living. They've now changed to the Institute of Sport and Health. And I wasn't directly involved with the institute. I only had an adjunct appointment, but I was involved with the sport and worked with a number of colleagues. And I want to thank Victoria University again for the opportunity to be working with them. And then I got an adjunct appointment with the University of South Australia, and that's when I wrote the book on the mathematics of tennis. I actually moved down to Adelaide, stayed at the Kathleen Lumley College, which is a postgraduate college, and I really enjoyed that. That was a great sort of dynamic on how that sort of operated. And then they provided the meals, breakfast and dinner, and it was fantastic meals, and had activities running all the time, and I was really involved in that. And then I got my current adjunct appointment is with Flinders University, and I'm really, really enjoying that sort of opportunity. And I've got a colleague who's really interested in tennis, which is why it's quite a good sort of association. We have that sort of combined interest in tennis, which we can talk about, and we've written a number of papers. We've actually got a couple of book chapters coming out. It's great. I haven't actually had a book chapter, so I wrote on the rarity in tennis, on how Federer is dominant on grass over Djokovic and Nadal, and Djokovic was dominant over Federer and Nadal on hard court. And Nadal was dominant over Djokovic and Federer on clay, and that came about when I was working in InfoPlum. I saw that rarity in tennis, and I've written a paper on that. And the other paper was on how Roger Federer feels the pressure in close matches. So he's winning more points on serve, but he's not actually winning the matches. He's lost a number of Grand Slam matches, so he could actually be an even better player. He's lost some matches which he really should have won because he feels the pressure in close matches and these important points, 30-40 being the most important point in a game, the most important game in a set being tie-break games. So he's not winning those critical, or what they call sort of pressure points. I noticed on the coverage last night they had pressure points won. I don't know how they define that, but the importance is mathematically well defined. And those two papers are in my book chapter. Getting back to the, you see how I get a bit carried away with tennis sometimes and go on a bit of a tangent. It's now 1-love to Krejcikova. So the number 4 seed, 15-30. So it's now 30-all. Krejcikova on serve. Now you've got to change the server each time. So Krejcikova actually got the break serve. and she's got an 82.3% chance of winning the match at 30 all. So again, we've got the Ash Barty match coming on tonight, followed by the Nadal match, and also the cricket. It's actually the cricket finals. Strikers playing the Hurricanes in an elimination final, and that's coming live at 7:15. Actually, the cafe here, and there's a few people around, but it's not popular, because of COVID and so on, and it's a bit overcast as well. It's sort of been raining a bit here in Sydney. So the most likely outcome is for Krejcikova to win 6 games to 2, 21.5% chance. 21.5% chance of Krejcikova winning, 6 games to 2. 19.1% chance of winning 6 games to 4. She held that serve, so she's now up 2-love. Ostapenko serving.
Yes.
And Krejcikova up now 88.5% chance to win the match. Haven't actually streamed. I've got sort of battery issues here actually. I might set myself up with home internet when I get round to it. I'm still sort of experimenting, I guess, a little bit with these predictions. I didn't know how it would sort of work. I think it's a bit problematic because I don't have live streaming. I might have to pay for the rights to do the live streaming. If I was to do that, then I'd probably want to bring in some sponsors to actually pay for that. So it all can be done. I've shown it can be done, and I was live streaming the Ash Barty match. Unless I can find a free site that offers one of these porrid free sites, but they just collapse. They're not reliable enough. You can see that on the number of games played in the set, how it's colour coded. The blue represents Krejcikova, and the maroon represents Ostapenko, player B. And you can see the chart, how this is the number of games played. So you can either win 6-love, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4, 7-5, or 7-6. And then you can see how that's broken down into well, you can either win 6 games, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can't win 11 games because you can't win 6 games to 5. 12 games, 7-5, or a tie-break, 7-6. And you can see how that's broken down into each player winning in those respective score lines. So it does two things, that chart. if you have a look at the number of games remaining, you can see the number of games remaining, and you can see how the number of games played plus the number of games remaining equal the number of games played in the set. So it's just a linear transformation of the two random variables, the number of games played in the set and the number of games remaining in the set. But you can see how the standard deviation the standard deviation stays the same, because the actual the distribution is still the same. It's just a transformation. In other words, the variance of your random variable plus a constant equals the variance of x, or the standard deviation of x. But the coefficient of variation, which is the standard deviation over the mean, actually changes, and your skewness and excess kurtosis or kurtosis stay the same, because the shape of the distribution is still the same. And if you add a constant to the skewness or kurtosis, it just equals that, the skewness and kurtosis of those different two random variables. So that's a bit of sort of mathematics. Very difficult to sort of explain a lot of this mathematics through live streaming, but that's sort of my aim, is to be sort of educational as well as offering the predictions. I want to sort of move away from the gambling aspect and have something which is purely sort of educational. So Krejcikova on serve, she actually leads 2-1, 30 all. Now 40-30. Changes that fast. Krejcikova 88.6% chance of winning the match, because she's up that vital break. Same win the set, because again we're in the final set. And that's where the updating formula would be more useful now, because we are in that final set. But it's just a bit problematic. I should have actually had the receiving points one, because the receiving points one is directly displayed on the match statistics. They don't provide the serving, the percentage of points won on serve. They don't provide that directly, although you can actually calculate it from the first serve percentage and the percentage won on the first serve and the percentage won on the second serve. But the percentage won on the first serve is conditional on the first serve going in, whereas the second serve it's actually unconditional, because it takes into account the double faults. So it should actually be conditional. It shouldn't take into account the double faults, if you want to be a bit more sort of precise in how you display these actual statistics. Only got 22% remaining on my battery life. Yeah, so due to battery life, I might actually leave it there. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tennis coverage. Oh, well, we'll go a bit longer. I've still got a little bit of battery life left. So it's sort of, yeah, I guess a lot of this has come down to writing the book and building the calculator and then live streaming. Again, I had a colleague who set up this live stream for me. It's quite an IT issue. Now I've got the issue of actually displaying the live coverage during the live stream, so you actually can follow the match while I'm giving the actual predictions. And that's what I did with the Ash Barty match until I got blocked. Bedoza against Kostak. Bedoza took the first. This is another women's match, round 3. Bedoza took the first set 6-2. Kostak up 6-5, 30 all. Instead of doing a lot more women's matches than men's matches, I'm a little bit biased towards men's because the quality of the matches are actually better in men's tennis than they are in women's tennis. That's not being racist or anything. I did write an article for the Australian Financial Review, and there's more double faults in women's tennis, even though men are actually taking more risk on the second serve. Men tend to come to the net more often, so there's more variety in play. They hit the ball a lot harder, of course, as you would expect. So, and that's the same across all sports. The quality of men's tennis is going to be better than women, just due to the physique of men is greater than women's, and you see that in athletics. The world records are obviously greater for men than women. However, there are 2 sports in freediving. In women actually held the world record. Freediving is where you hold your breath and you go down as far as you can underwater, and then you shoot up. You don't get the bends because you're taking the air from the surface. It's not like scuba diving where you have to actually take breaks when you rise to the surface, otherwise you get the bends. But the world record was held by a female in that sport. I think it was taken over by a man, but and also in artistic sports such as gymnastics, they do different apparatus. They're just as skillful in gymnastics as they are as the men. The men do more strength exercises like the rings and the pole vault, whereas the women do the balance beam and the bars. They do the high bar, I think, in women's. So, and also in diving, which is artistic, women are just as good as divers as men. Might even be better, I don't really know. So, again, I'm a bit biased towards tennis. I've always wanted to do men's tennis, but I did get involved in women's tennis, and of course Serena Williams holds 23 Grand Slams, and she's going for that 24th Grand Slam. Well, I should update the predictions. It's now 3-1 Krejcikova. Ostapenko serving. Actually, it was 3-1 before. Oh, it's 3-1, 30 all. It's been on 3-1, 30 all for a while. I don't know, it's not updating. It's now 40-30 Ostapenko. Okay, it's 3-2, Krejcikova on serve. So she still holds that break, Krejcikova. That's now 83.9% chance of winning for Krejcikova. What was I was talking about men's and women's tennis. Yeah, I had another 4, but I forgot what I was going to say then. Not to worry. But again, it would be nice to have the tournament predictions. And if someone wants to do an honours project, I've already got a lot of the code sort of written. Uses the span function. In fact, the code's available, uses randomising the pre-match predictions, and that's available on my website, strategicgames.com.au, and you can find on the front page of the website homepage, you can find the tournament predictions, and you can adjust that code by reading in the pre-match predictions for the draw. You can actually calculate the chances of players winning and reaching a particular round, and you can also calculate the chance that player A meets player B, and that's all exact given the pre-match predictions using the span function, and that could be an honours project for someone. Okay, I've only got 15% remaining on my battery life, 22 minutes. Reaching tiebreaker, 12.3%. You can see the pie chart that I use for the actual shows up the best, because that's really what you want. You want that sort of match prediction, but of course it goes into more detail on the point, game and set level, probability of reaching score lines, and you also get the distribution, points in a game, games in a set, and sets a match, and you get what you call a parameters distribution, your mean, standard deviation, skewness and excess kurtosis, and that distribution is broken down to the number of games played in a set and the number of points game sets remaining in a match, and of course for the number of points game sets played, that's broken down into winning in the particular score lines for each player, and that sort of summarises the whole calculator. And of course you've got the updating rule, which updates what you previously occur with what actually occurs and that uses the number of points won on serve to the number of points played on serve, which gives you the actual serve. So it's the actual serve to the predicted serve, which gives you the updated serve, and that Bayesian updating rule is what you really should be using. Again, from a betting perspective, that will be much more reliable. But again, I don't emphasize the betting, it's using this purely for multimedia. Okay, Krejcikova up 4-2. Okay, it's 4-3 to Krejcikova on serve. And Krejcikova's got 85.5% chance of winning the match. See how the distribution's now changing. Most likely is 6-4 at 38.3% chance. And you can see how the number of games remaining is, which is either 2, 3, 5 or 6, or the number of games played is going to be either 9, 10, 12 and 13. And so, for example, to win 6-3, that's 30.6%, and that, well, if you take 6-4, 38.3%, and 4 per player for Krejcikova and for Ostapenko to 4.5%, and that's the number of games remaining in the set of 3 sets, which sums to 42.8%. So you can see how it all sort of matches together, because it's just a shift. The number of games, the mean number of games played in the set is 10.37, but the number of games remaining is 3.37, and that's because 7 games, the difference of 10.37, 3.37 is 7, and that's the number of games which has already been played. So it's just a linear shift, if you like, in the number of games played. Your batteries weren't running low, you might want to plug in your PC. So I'm going to log out there because I'm running low. So thanks for the opportunity to again stream my live tennis predictions. Hope you enjoy the rest of the Krejcikova-Ostapenko match. Okay.